Yo, this is Quentin Moore chilling in the Cigar Lounge.
This is the Captain, Hobo King 82. Hi, guys! Yo, this is MJ from Hot Garbage Cigar Club, and you're watching Cigar Loungin Podcast.
Welcome, everybody, to Cigar Loungin Podcast. I am your host, the local hero, here with Mike from Guido Cigars. First of all, why Guido?
Well, first off, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on the show, and thank you to all of you who are listening. So I always say I have 4 kids that I know of, and every time my wife and I were having a baby, I was like, come on, let me name it Guido. Let me name it Guido. And she was like, no, we got Giovanni is as close as I got. So I got Michael, Anthony, Giovanni, and then my daughter was Stella. I even tried to go with Guida. And she kept saying no. And then it's like, well, if we get a dog, you can name it Guido. And then, of course, we got a girl dog, and I wanted to name it Guido. And they were like, absolutely not. So the dog's name is Cece. So I was like, that's it, man. If I start my own cigar company, I'm naming it Guido. So Guido is literally my 5th child, Guido Cigars. So that's where the name Guido comes from. It also has a negative connotation, in the Italian community. It was very often a stereotype, almost used as a, almost as a slur in some ways. But I really believe in, kind of bringing the positive back to it. And I think it can have a positive meaning. And, there's a lot of Italian guys named Guido. My wife even said, if we live in Italy, you can name a kid Guido. And I'm like, well, let's go, let's move. I'm like, I'm down. So that's the reason behind the name Guido.
So I'm from originally, I'm from Chicago.
Oh yeah.
So I know I was born, raised in Little Italy. So I got a lot of friends that they used to use that all the time. It was crazy. So
yeah.
But I had to, because that's all I'm like, wait a minute. I know, like, wait a minute. So all right. So let's go into your journey. How did you get into cigars?
Yeah. So, actually in the cigars themselves, I tell the story. Growing up, like you said, growing up Italian, everybody smoked cigarettes and cigars. You knew my parents were not smokers. But when you had company over the house, my grandparents, my uncles and aunts, the next morning the house just smelled like, a bowling alley, which doesn't smell like a bowling alley anymore, but like it smelled like cigars and cigarettes. That's what everybody did. So growing up around it, if you would have told me as a kid, I probably been like, nah, never would be smoking. But I have one Uncle Johnny Cigar. He always had a cigar in his mouth, just always had a cigar, always smoking. And when he passed away, I was kind of like a little bit trying cigars before that. But when he passed away, we all kind of like celebrated his life with a cigar, and we all started smoking them. And he smoked these really cheap cigars called El Cuños, and we started smoking the El Cuños. And then this is the early 2000s. So it was like when that cigar boom was happening, and then started to try, like I said, I never knew about premium cigars. We just smoked cigars, and then started to learn more about it and kind of developed there. But I kind of credit my Uncle Johnny Cigar. And his passing is what kind of started the whole cigar thing. And it came a great way as I got older and started to get married and have kids and moved out of the house. Great way for me and my father to bond and kind of spend time together. So it's a lot around that. And once again, which why I wanted to go with the Guido name. It's about family. It's about family and just spending time together. And that's kind of how I got started with cigars, smoking them. That's how I got started with that.
My old boxing coach, Tony. First of all, I don't know why he could never say Anthony. Like his son's name is Anthony. Anthony. But he always had a cigar in his mouth, and he wasn't smoking, he'd chew it. Like he had the little, if he wasn't smoking, he'd chew it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how Uncle John was. I can't do that though. I don't know. It's gotta be lit for me. I'll always have a cigar in my mouth, but it'll be lit. Yeah,
I don't know how they do, but they just sit there and just chew it. I'm like, and just spit it back. I'm like, why are you smoking? What is the purpose of that?
Seems like a waste, right?
So let me ask you as well. So what made you, like everybody, so it's certain people, like when you're around cigars, certain people like, I'm never going to make a cigar. What made you decide to say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and just make a cigar?
Yeah, so this is one of those things I say is just probably been on my New Year's resolutions for, probably 7 years, if not more. I used to be a high school teacher. So I taught high school for the better part of a decade. And going back about 4 years ago now, I was like, okay, this is it, man. I'm going to start a cigar company. And one of my former students I saw that, we were friends on Facebook, and then I saw that he was working for a cigar company. And I just messaged him. I said, oh, man, I'd love to learn more about that cigar company and what you're doing, because I want to start my own cigar brand. And he messaged me back. He says, great. We got together. I'm an outsourced COO. So my day job is I'm a consultant. So I come in and kind of take the fractional COO role for a lot of companies. So I'm telling him what I'm doing. He's fascinated. He's telling me what he's doing with the cigar industry. I'm like, that's really cool. It was no way for me to kind of like, well, there kind of might've been a way. But then he's like, man, I think we need to hire you because I think we really need what you do. And then there was some marketing. I had a marketing company at the time too that I was working with. He's like, I think we could really use you guys. And they were called Humanif Group, but they're actually still a client of mine. They make a lot of the boxes and accessories and different things. Like they just did the blackened case for Metallica. If you saw the family reunion for Drew Estate, they did the cases there. We've done boxes for like Ferry Otego. We did Chad Ochocinco boxes. So we've done a lot of the boxes and a lot of those that you see, there's smart technology in there. But him and I started talking and they ended up becoming a client. Like I said, I'm still working with them today. And I will say, though, that experience of I'm like, all right, I'm going to start my own cigar brand. I'm just going to buy a stick and slap a band on it. And like you said, most people in the industry will tell you. And I was humbled when I got in. I mean, I went to my first PCA in Las Vegas and I was like starstruck. I was overwhelmed. I was like, and here's something I thought, like I've gone to tons of conferences for clients. This is the first time I've ever gone to a conference that I think I was like legitimately humbled and nervous. I think because I was a fan, like, oh, there's Rocky Patel, there's Arturo Fuente, there's Nick Padron. Like, it's like, you're literally like seeing these celebrities, that in the industry that and that you want to meet. And I learned a lot. I mean, I just came out with the cigar now because once I took that on and like I said, I went to my first PCA. I learned a lot about the industry and I had a lot of respect for it. But I still always wanted to do this. And obviously the more I got involved in the industry, I made some connections that allowed me to pull this off, which I don't think I would have been able to do before. I mean, I probably could order a bunch of blank sticks from a website and slapped a band on it, but this truly is, my brand and kudos to anyone that does it. And I've always said, like, I gave my dad the first box that we made. I gave it to him for his 71st birthday. And if I don't sell one cigar, which fortunately we've sold some cigars, so that's good. But I always said, if I got to at least do that, I got to accomplish this. It's a goal. I crossed it off my bucket list. Will I ever be as big as some of those giants I mentioned before? Probably not. But I'm just proud that I did this and put this out there. Like, you can never tell me I didn't have my own cigar now, so that's really the reason I wanted to do it. It's been a goal and I knew it's something I could accomplish. It's kind of like boxing. Why would you want to get punched in the face? You just probably, you love it, yeah. So yeah. My neighbor, he moved, but he was a boxer and, it's the same thing. It's just, you love it. You can just tell they just love the sport. It's the same thing. I just love the industry and love the craft. And, like I said, I'm humbled to be amongst giants. That's all I could say about it at this point. And we'll see what comes of it,
Mm-hmm. I remember I was when I met Nick Padermo and all them, we sit down, having a conversation. And what he said was, he was like, all of us started as boutique brands. And it's our job now that we up here is try to get the boutique brands where we are for the next generation. And like, that's what I find out with the cigar community. It's a lot of, as big as it is, it's not really that big. It's everybody's in it.
And small. Yeah. That's what I mean. Like, all those guys are in that room and it's like, you could talk to them, Yeah,
they're very accessible. They're very accessible. Yeah. So let me ask you this. So for anybody out there who's thinking about, hey, I want to start a cigar company, what is some of the advice you would give them?
I mean, and I think it's some of the same things, and today's industry, like you said, it's a small community. And you mentioned Nick. I mean, he's a great guy. And it's funny, like I met with him once as well. And every time I see him, he still remembers my name, which is impressive. I think you have to connect with the giants. You have to connect with the people that are doing it. I always say, like, if you want to be somewhere, go where someone else is and don't just stand there, but ask questions, learn, figure it out. And I mean, it's accessible. I mean, from Instagram to cigar shops to events to whatever it may be. I mean, you really got to spend some time getting around people and learning the industry. And, I think that's the first thing is, like, you got to really make sure, is it something you want to do? I mean, and I'm sure a lot of those guys will tell you, like, be careful making your hobby your job, because then what do you do for fun? Right. Like, it's going to be, you're going to get punched in the face a little bit. It's going to be rough, but I think you have to learn, you have to ask questions. You have to figure out, is this something I really want to do? Because it's not just binder, wrapper, filler. It's not just bands. It's not just boxes. It's not just promotion. It's not just sales. It's not just one thing. It's everything, right? And you look at it, it's, do you want to be, a lot of people, and it's funny, as I've released my cigar, I used to love walking into a cigar lounge, right? Because you just walk in, you pick out a cigar, you buy one, you sit down. Now I'm like, ooh, I went the other day and I realized, shoot, I don't have any of my own cigars. Like, oh, the owner's there. He's Italian. I could have given him one. Like, it changes the way you have to interact in the field. So make sure you're ready for that. Like, make sure you're like, oh, I want this to be more of a job than a hobby. I think that's the first thing. And I mean, obviously it's a financial investment. I think it's going to be both more money and probably less money than you think, but it's going to be a financial investment. And you got to be, I say it's like going to Vegas. You got to be willing to take that money with you and lose it all. And if you win, great, but you got to know, like, you're not going to get rich doing this probably. But, if it's a goal and it's something you want to do and you're passionate about it and you want to plant your flag, man, go for it. And the industry, I will say this, they will welcome you with open arms. They will, there's plenty of people that are willing to, like you said, put their hand on your shoulder and be like, okay, go this way or do this or do that. They may not help you through the whole process, but you could get a good 5-minute conversation, probably, I'd say, with almost anyone in this industry, if you're sincere and genuine and you just ask,
That's a good point. That's a good point. Because we talk to a lot of cigar makers, and they all say the same thing. Like, you have to actually want to do it. If you're going in thinking you're going to get rich, then you're going to fail.
Yeah. In any business, right? I think that's true of any business, right? Like, and I work with a lot of entrepreneurs. I mean, I'll tell you, every business I work with, anyone that was chasing money, I say chasing money is like chasing a car. It's eventually going to get away from you and you're going to fall on your ass. I'd rather get hit by the car, because then you could sue them and you can make more money. So you got to be willing to get beat up by this thing. If you're willing to get beat up and take the lumps, that's how you get paid. And if you're willing to do it in a way that you're not worried about the money, but you're worried about the destination, that's the fun part,
So let me ask you, the logo. Who came up with the logo? Who did the logo for you? How did you come up with the logo?
So I based, and I'll hold it up on the camera so everyone can kind of see it there. It's got a couple of things on there. Obviously, it's got the Italian flag. It's got the cross, because my faith is important to me. When I mentioned being a teacher, I used to teach ethics and Bible. And then it's got the Italian horn over there, which is supposed to ward off evil. And then because we're Italian and we're a bunch of Guidos, it's got gold on it, right? Like, I mean, you got to have that. I worked with Adam at Dreamer Cigars, is who actually helped me get this off the ground. And ironically enough, I interviewed him. We had a podcast with Humanist Group. I had him on the podcast. We developed a friendship, and he knew I was thinking of doing this, and just DM'd me. He's like, hey, who's going to do your cigar distribution? I said, I don't have anyone yet. He's like, I got, I can help you out with that. He did the Rodman cigar. He did the Onward Dream cigar with JC Newman. He's done a couple of great cigars. He has a great podcast as well. And him and his team designed the logo. And, I told him what I wanted on the band. I kind of gave the general layout, and they came back with it. And it's funny, because it's like one of those things where, I'm not an overthinker, though, as much as I'm an operational guy. I'm kind of like a let's do stuff. Like, if I see a logo, I usually like it on the first try, and I loved it. And then even the cigar that we actually ended up going with, he sent me by accident, and he's like, oh, he goes, I didn't mean to send you that one. No, you're probably not going to like it. It's going to, have a little too much flavor in it. It's got a little bit of a peppery taste. But I said, okay. And I love the cigar. I love the logo, the first thing that came out. So it just really all happened kind of organically, Okay.
All right. So, how does it feel? Because I see you got yours in a couple of shops, right? So how does it feel when you walk in the shop and you see a cigar?
I mean, like I said, it's surreal. It's surreal from the standpoint of, like, when I was a kid, I love that you're wearing that shirt, right, with Mario on it, and I'm an 80s baby. So I remember going to Toys R Us, right? And we didn't have a lot of money growing up. So it's like, if you got like birthday money, you went to Toys R Us and you got to pick out a video game. And I don't know if you remember in Toys R Us, you used to go in, and the video games were not out, but they had like an aisle with pictures of them on the wall and like a little piece of paper, right? And you pull that paper out and then you take it to the cage and they gave you the video game. But like, I used to spend an hour. My parents would be like, could you pick something and go out? But I'm like, this is the one time a year I get a video game. Like, I want to pick the right one. I used to love that experience as a kid. Like, that's the experience I feel as an adult when I go into a humidor, right? It's like, I look at all the cigars. I'm like, oh, which one do I want? I love looking at them. To know that my cigar is there and like someone's experiencing that and seeing that and may see one that stands out and be like, oh man, Guido cigars, what's that? I like that. I mean, to me, I hope they have that same joy I had as a kid, picking out a video game. That's how I feel having it on there. It's like, man, I got my own video game almost. Like, it's just cool, man. It's just like, to me, it's like, it's humbling. It's exciting. And the fact that like, honestly, I don't know if I can curse on this, but I'm like, holy shit, like somebody wants to buy my cigars. Like, that's super humbling, man. And like I said, just to be amongst giants, my father's cigars, Perdermo, I mean, Arturo Fuente, Davidoff, you see these, and then there's Guido cigars. It's like, who's this guy? What's he doing here? Like I'm super humbled, bro. It's hard to describe the feeling. I'll be honest. It really is.
I got another question for you. What I noticed, I talked to, I done an interview with a lot of high school teachers. What is it with y'all and cigars? Like a lot of the high school teachers, men or women, they love cigars.
Oh yeah, women too. Don't be fooled, bro. Listen, I got a lot of teacher female friends I smoke cigars with. It is a stressful job, my friend. But you know, it's funny. We did a retreat for the kids. It was in Texas, actually, outside San Antonio. And one of the nights, all the teachers, all the counselors, someone's like, we're going to, and I had cigars with me, and they're like, oh, we're going to go to a cigar shop and buy a bunch of cigars. Like everybody, all the adults there were smoking cigars. But I think it's like, cigars are one of those things where it's like you feel, I think it's a commitment of time, right? So like if you're going to sit down and have a cigar, like, hey man, I'm getting an hour to myself. I'm getting some time to relax. Or if you're doing it with somebody, I want to spend an hour with this person. I want to bond with them. So I think, especially for educators or anybody for that matter, it's just a way to be like, man, I know, like you light a cigarette, you got like 5 minutes to like do your thing, if that, right? But I know if you sit down and have a cigar, you're committed to some time for yourself. And I think we all need that. Teachers, everybody now is like, man, like I'm really going to get an hour to myself. That's cool. Like and I think that's why so many educators, they're pulled in 10,000 different directions. It's like, man, if that's my hour apiece. And if you got a spouse that doesn't like it, usually they're going to leave you alone for that hour. So the kids aren't going to bother you. I think it's a matter of, it's a sign of peace, I think,
Okay. Because like I said, I know a lot of high school teachers, men and women, and I smoke with them all the time. And they just be like, man, man, I just feel good to just be able to smoke and have a drink and just not think about anything. Yeah, I can't wait for summer vacation.
Yeah, it's just that time. Can you imagine though? Like, right? What is it? Probably 50 years ago now. But like, you used to be able to smoke in the classroom. Like, I'd probably still be a teacher if I could smoke cigars in the
classroom. You just smoke like that's a dumb answer, Billy.
Yeah. It's like, all right, moving on.
So I like to ask everybody this now. Of course, everybody want to drive now. I like to ask everybody I have on the show this. I don't want to put you on the spot, but I kind of want to put you on the spot.
No worries, put me on the spot.
Your favorite cigar lounge.
So my favorite cigar lounge nationwide would have to be Corona Cigars on Sand Lake in Orlando.
That's a good spot. I gotta check them out.
Yeah, just it's and Jeff, well, I mean, just great family-owned business. It's one of the you talk about being a teacher. I used to go to a lot of educational conferences when I was a teacher, and we would end up there. And then as I've worked in various industries, we always end up there when there's some sort of an event in Orlando. It's just a great lounge. I would say that's probably one of my favorite lounges with memories, right? Just because there's so much history there. Even, and I always tell this is we went to, I was at my first educational conference as a young teacher, and I had just started getting into cigars at this point. And the guy was with us, like a real cigar connoisseur, Cuban guy, just really into cigars, Ricky Machado. And we went out to dinner, each night, and we went to I can't remember the name of the restaurant, but and then we went out for a cigar. Well, the second night we went out for a cigar, at that time I didn't smoke that much. Now I smoke 2 or 3 cigars a day. I think the second night we had a cigar. We were at Corona Cigar, and I was having a great time. And now I'm a young teacher. This is the first time I've ever got invited to a conference. And he was the tech guy, and that was a big deal when you were a teacher to have the tech guy take you somewhere, And he just got a brand new car. Remember, he got a brand new Saturn, and we're driving back from the cigar lounge. And I don't know whether it's what I ate for dinner or the cigar. It just hit me the wrong way, and I yacked all in this guy's car. And I'm like, bro, I'm so sorry. And he's like, motherfucker, he's cursing me out. I had to go. He was just upset. But like I said, so a lot of good and bad memories tied to Corona Cigar Company in Orlando, but it's one of my favorites. So my cigars are not there yet. But I know Howard G. Have you ever seen Howard G Cigars? Another great cigar company. He actually, was one of the guys. He hung out there a lot, and they kind of adopted him and helped him get his line launched. So I mean, they're also very friendly to boutique cigars. So I just huge shout out to Corona Cigar Company. Obviously, Cutters that's carrying any cigar lounge is carrying mine is my new favorite. But I mean, I think any cigar lounges are like pizza. There's no bad one, because it's always a place, like I said, to bond with people. If you go there and you're hanging out and you're grabbing a stick, I don't think I've ever been to a bad cigar lounge. Chicago's interesting because you can't serve alcohol there. And I did not know that. And I went to a cigar lounge in Chicago, but you can bring your own alcohol, and guys were sharing drinks with each other. I mean, guys shared a drink with me. So like I said, it's always a great place to bond. So there are no bad cigar lounges, but Corona would have to be my favorite.
Chicago is weird because you can't smoke. So if you have a lounge, a cigar lounge, you can't serve alcohol or food. Yeah. And even to have alcohol in there, you gotta have a permit so people could bring alcohol. It's very weird. I know a few lounge owners. Actually, is Ralph Cigars across the street from where I used to live, and I talked to them about that, and they just like it's weird how they have it set up. Let me ask you, what do you think is your favorite? Like, what is your favorite? Like, I'm trying to say, how can I say this? Like your favorite undercover cigar city. It's a city where it's a lot of cigars, but nobody quite knows about it.
I will say, in all honesty, we just talked about it though. Like when I went into this lounge, it was in the suburbs of Chicago, more near like the Darien area. There's a lounge I went to out there. I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head. But I was impressed. Like they had Ferriotagos, they had Nova cigars, they had like a lot of boutique cigars, Red Meat Lovers Club cigar. They had all the Guy Fieri's. I mean, they just had, this was like, and like you said, it's weird because like you don't only bring your own alcohol, but it was a huge building. They had a huge humidor, and they had a lot of like cigars you would not, like, from being in the industry, I knew these are not things you would see in a regular lounge, so that was cool. Like undercover, like Corona's the same way. Corona's got tons of brands in there. Like if you've ever been to the CI store, they got a lot, but this, and I wish I could remember the name of the shop off the top of my head, but I'll send it. I'll look it up afterwards. I'll send it to you if you want to put in the show description. But
what shop you talking about? Is it in like a shopping mall?
No, it's like on a main road. It looks like it used to be like a something. It looks like almost like it used to be a townhome.
You ain't talking about is it downtown?
No, it's not that. It's in the suburb. It's like near Darien. Okay. Yeah, it's like in the burbs.
Darien. Okay, I can't think of that because I ain't around Darien.
Yeah, like Darien and Woodridge, like Woodridge area. Like out there.
Okay, I gotta, because I'm gonna have to, when I go back, I definitely have to go there.
Yeah, I'm gonna send it to you. I'm surprised it's not in my.
Next Friday, actually, I'm going back home, so I'll definitely have to stop.
Are you really? I'm going there on for Columbus Day.
Yeah, I'm gonna be there from the 10th to the 13th.
Oh man!
So besides your cigar, right? What's your favorite cigar to smoke and enjoy?
I'm a big fan of the Perdomo Champagne. That's definitely one of my favorites. Like I said, it's also local. I used to drive when I taught. I drove by Nick's shop on my way to work when I was a teacher. It's literally right by the high school I taught at. So it's Perdomos have always been one of my favorites. A smaller one that not many people may know, the 5 Vegas, is also the 5 Vegas Golds are another one of my kind of go-to everyday cigars that I enjoy. And like I said, they're a client, so I mean a little bit biased, but I'm loving the Ferriotagos. I mean, Michael has just done an amazing job. All of his cigars. The Metropolitan is one of my favorites. It's just a great cigar. I enjoy, like I said, I enjoy a little bit of a Gordo, a little bit of a bigger smoke, a little bit of a longer smoke, which Michael just came out with a big one, so I'm excited about that. So it's though it depends on the day, but I those are some of my go-tos.
Okay. I agree. That's how I judge I go in the cigar lounge. Say, what you want? I don't know. I know when I see it, I know. Yeah,
exactly. And I don't mind trying new stuff. I always look for something different, Like I said, the Drew Estate, we helped on accessory kits for that. The Black End is really good. One of the newer ones that I've had recently. I mean, Drew Estate always does a great job on their cigars. So,
okay. So right now, knowing what you know right now, if you can go back and talk to yourself, getting ready to go into the cigar business, what would you tell yourself?
I mean, it's probably like anything else, right? Patience, young grasshopper, slow your roll type thing. I mean, it's going to take time. I think trust the process, but take the risk. And I think, and be honest, be ready. This went faster than I thought. I didn't expect to get the cigars till probably now, October. I ended up getting them August, September. So everything was done in Nicaragua, which was important to me because I have a strong connection in Nicaragua. And I would just tell myself kind of be patient, trust your gut and take the leap. I don't think, and I always say this, I don't think I would tell myself to do anything different because I think it happened the way it was supposed to happen. I'm happy with the end result. So that's the case. I don't think I could have, if I would have done it sooner, maybe not come out with this one. I'm super proud and super happy of how it is. So I don't think I changed too much, but I think just that idea of patience, patience and preparation would be the two things.
Okay. Okay. And like you said, you did a lot of talking and a lot of research, and some people don't do that. They just try to jump in, like you said, and try to just pick a throwaway and throw a band on it. Let me ask you, as a consultant, how important is your brand when it comes to marketing? Like, because a lot of people, like I said, they just grab a throwaway, throw a band on it, and say, "Oh, here's my new cigar." Like, how important is it to be in touch and in charge step by step when it comes to developing your brand?
I mean, I think it's a lot because especially in this industry, right? You only get one chance to make a first impression, right? And I do feel like too, you got to be really careful because it's like if you open a McDowell's and you go buy a bunch of McDonald's hamburgers and put them in a different wrapper, someone's going to figure you out, and I think that's the thing. And it's not that hard nowadays to do it the right way, and listen, if you want to do it just to say you did it, I mean, there's plenty of people that make a band for you. You get a band on Fiverr and, slap it on a cigar. And if you just want to do it for fun and hand it out to your friends, great, do that, no harm, no foul. But if you really want to start a business and you really want to start a brand and you want to be, like I said, if you want to be mentioned the names of giants, my father, Perdomo. I mean, you look at these guys, Perdomo put their last name on it. Fuente's the last name. Plasencia is the last name. They put their family name on it because there's history. There's family. You look at Don Derritero, right? Another newer, smaller cigar up and coming. I mean, he's going to be a giant. He's going to be a Arturo Fuente one day. Why? Because it comes from his family. There's so much, history and stuff in that. This isn't, people in this industry aren't just doing this to do it. They're doing it because there's a passion. It's connected to their family. It's connected to their heritage. It's more than just slapping a band on something. And you can't, it's like me putting on a baseball cap and saying I'm a baseball player. It's like, no, you're not. You know what I mean? Like you gotta understand there's depth to this industry. And if you respect that and you create a brand that mirrors that, the industry will respect you. If you act like a clown, you're going to get treated like a clown.
I agree. I don't know why they wait till today writing down the motor. I think it's crazy over here. That's why I'm muted, because I get all this background noise.
Yeah, all good, man.
So I like that. I like that because we have been we at the podcast, we've been approached to make cigars. Like, nah, man, nah. We will know. We'll know when the time is right. As of right now, we just enjoy talking to people and hearing the stories. Like, maybe when down the line, maybe we might make like an anniversary stick. But other than that,
yeah,
like it's a lot of work. And we realize that talking to people, it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. And like I said, it's got to be, it's got to be a labor of love, and I say it's like raising kids, they're a baby, I got teenage sons now, and it's fun, man. It's like hanging out with them is a blast. They're like my best friends. But when they were babies, man, it was work. When they were toddlers, it was work. Like, you don't get that fun part until you're in it, until you're down the line. So you can't expect right out the gate for it to be fun,
we're gonna edit that part out. I promise they sabotage me.
No, you're good. You're good. You're good. I love it. I said that's what Guido Cigars is about, man. It's about it being real. It's about all the stuff. Yeah, as soon as we got on, the guys are cutting the lawn. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me, man.
Show.
That's how you know we got it. That's how you know we got something good, right? That's how you know we got something good.
I do like it. You know what's amazing though? Like there's a lot of people that, and I always say this. That's why I enjoy going to the lounge. You can sit next to a CEO of a company. You can sit next to a janitor, and you wouldn't even know the difference.
Yep.
Everybody's on equal ground, and that's what I like about cigars and cigar lounge.
Yeah. Yeah, my buddy Tony Peck talks about that all the time. He was a kid in college up in New York, and now he's a big marketing guy now. But he's like, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know what I wanted to be. All my friends were going and getting internships and doing this and doing different things and, trying to connect with people. He's like, I just started going to cigar lounges. And from that, he met people that taught him, about industry. Like you said, everybody from CEOs to janitors, it didn't matter. Like everybody had something to teach you. And he just learned about all sorts of different types of businesses. And now he's a successful marketer, and he credits it with being a college kid going and hanging out at cigar lounges instead of hanging out at all these other places where his friends were, frat houses and all these other things. Man, he's like, I went to the cigar lounge and learned, man, and everybody welcomed me with open arms because they're like, oh yeah, come here, kid. Let me teach you. Let me tell you. Let me do things. And even when I travel a lot for work. And like Arizona, like Fox Cigar Lounge is one of my favorite places to go to. But like every time I go to a cigar lounge in another state, I always try to find one. You walk in and it's not like I've walked into bars, I've walked into restaurants where it's like, oh, like you could tell this is a local spot. You don't belong here. You walk into any cigar lounge in any city, man. You said it. People welcome you. They're like, oh, come on in, sit down. Where are you from? What do you need? Oh, you're not, it's sometimes they can tell you're not from around here. I'm like, oh no, but it's always welcoming. And then you never know the connections you're going to make, or the stories you're going to hear, the people you're going to know. I love, like, even in hotels, when I say at a hotel, I was like, sometimes I'll go in the back if there's no cigar lounge around. I went on the patio and I smoked a cigar and I met this guy. He was having a cigar too. Turns out he had his own brand and he does a bunch of stuff. Like 3 years later, he flew down here. We went to a Dolphins game together. Like, you never know what type of friends you're going to make. To me, it's just fun. It's just a fun hobby to have and a great way to connect with people.
So now I got a question about the podcast. What made you start a podcast?
Yeah, I mean, same thing, similar concept. I always wanted to do it. And, like I said, I was never couple reasons. I was never the smartest kid. I say I failed first grade. I failed out of college, barely graduated high school. I finally got my stuff together and figured out what I wanted to do in my life, and then was able to finish college and even get a master's degree. But I don't feel like when I was a kid or even when I was going through certain things that there was enough people. You always hear of people talking about success from the mountaintop. You never hear people talking about the climb, and I thought that was important to talk about, like, hey, you're going to be up, you're going to be down, to share my story, to give other people a platform to share their story. And the other reason is too, I also do a lot of, I encourage a lot of my clients to have a podcast. So part of it was like, I wanted to eat my own dog food, if you will, and make sure that they were, that I had something that they could do as well. And it's a great way to meet people, man. I just love connecting with people. Like I said, same thing. It's like having a cigar. It's like you have someone on your podcast, they're your best friend. I've had celebrities, I've had, just regular everyday people, and it doesn't matter. It's like you're all of a sudden like you're good friends with them. I've had celebrities on my podcast, and then I see them out, and they're like, "Oh, hey, Mike," and I'm like, "You remember me?" like really? They're like, "Yeah, I was on your podcast." And it's like it's just cool. Like it's a neat experience. And like I said, just it's a way to bond with just even anybody. Like, you have them on a podcast, that's it. You got your like friends for life. It's like having a cigar together, your friends for life. I think it's a great way to connect with people. And I always say too, it's also legacy. When I die, if anyone cares, my kids or, my grandkids or my great grandkids, they'll be able to hear a little bit of my story, a little bit of what I thought about things, a little bit about what I was and what I did. If I want to learn about my great grandparents, it's all flat. It's all in photos. Hopefully the internet's still around, and they'll be able to learn a little more about me and who I was and what I did. So I think it's also kind of a time capsule. And even for my kids, I don't know, they may not care about any of this right now, and listen, I hope I live to be 80, but let's say, God forbid, I don't, they could get some mentorship from that, So I see it on multiple angles, and if it helps one person, I always say it's great. You never know who's listening. You never know who's going to get that little tidbit of something that can help them. The same way with teaching. You teach hundreds of kids. You never know who you're going to get through to, or who you're going to make a connection with. Like the kid I work with now, when he was my student, if you would have told me I would have worked with him, I would have laughed at you, but you never know what the future holds. So that's really why I love podcasting. I absolutely love it. My computer's dying here. So
how do you pick your guests for your show?
So I use Podmatch, which is kind of like Tinder. I call it Tinder for podcasting. So you kind of go through, if you see someone you match with, they match with you. That's one way I do it. Sometimes it's just direct reach out. If there's someone on Instagram or someone I think that would be good for the show, I'll shoot them a DM. I also ask all my guests, I say, if anyone's on my podcast, or if you know anyone who would like to be on the show or you think would be a good guest, let me know. Sometimes I get referrals. Once in a while, a PR agency comes out of the woodworks, but it's very organic, a lot of it. Really just, kind of same thing, reaching out, connecting, or even if I meet someone or have a cigar with them and I think it's interesting, I'm like, man, you should totally be on the podcast. And then they end up coming on. So.
Now they out front, so it's getting loud. It's annoying.
I can't hear it. So you're good. You're good. I don't think it's picking it up.
Hold on. I'm gonna have my editor clip all that out.
Okay.
So, but I do, like I said, I like having these conversations, man. I got a question for you though, because you have a podcast and you do the song. How important is the story to the brand as well?
I mean, story is everything, right? You can see I got on my shelf back there the Back to the Future cup, right? One of my favorite movies of all time. Story. You look at Star Wars, you look at Jurassic Park, you look at Super Mario, right? Like, I mean, you look at any theme park, you look at, you even look at any store you really shop at, even if you don't realize it, they're all based on stories. And I think today we live in a story society, right? Like we wake up in the morning and you pick your phone up and you're looking for a story. You're looking for a picture. You're looking for, you're watching a reel. We're intrigued by stories. Like we've been intrigued by stories since the Bible, right? Since time immemorial. I mean, Jesus taught through parables and stories. I mean, story is everything for the brand. And if you don't have a story, to me, you don't have a brand, and more importantly, I think if you don't have an authentic and a real story, you really don't have a brand. And I think today it's really important to connect to the story, right? Like movies don't make money nowadays off just the story. They make money off the merchandise. But why do they make money off the merchandise? Because people want to connect with the story. Your kid wants to hold, the little, what was it, Inside Out 2 when it came out, there was anxiety. Everybody wanted that anxiety doll because they wanted to connect with the story. So if you have a good story and people connect with it and hold on to it in some way, that's the most important thing. That's what makes a brand. And, it's what's going to make you interesting. If I stood up here and I was just like, well, this is Guido cigars made, with an Ecuadorian wrapper, Nicaraguan binder and filler, and it's, 6x60. And if I tell you all the factual stuff, that's boring. But I tell you the story about why I made it and it was going to be named after one of my kids. There's a connection there that if you relate to it, you're going to be a fan of my cigar. I don't want you to be a customer. I want you to be a fan. And I think stories in business create fans and allow people to connect with who you are and what you do, as opposed to just the facts, right? Like nobody likes school. Nobody likes to study. Nobody likes, well, some people like to, but I mean, I could teach you about my brand and you learn something and maybe you're a little bit smarter, but if I connect you with my brand and you fall in love with it, then you become a fan.
I totally agree. I think it's very important as well. That's how, like, if I'm looking at a cigar and I know it's an interesting story behind that cigar or that particular product, I'm more inept to get that one than something that I don't know the background behind.
Yeah. Yep. I'm drawing a blank on it too. I mentioned I live in Fort Lauderdale. I can't think of the kid's name now. But when that condo collapsed here, his grandparents were in there and he started a cigar in honor of them. And the boxes are all around that store. I mean, that's powerful, right? Like you want to buy this kid's cigar because there's a story there, and like I said, even Nick Pernermo, I mean, it started out as Nick Sticks, but if you ever met Nick, and I know you said you had an opportunity to sit down and talk to him, like he will make you feel connected to his brand, Don Deratero. I mean, you feel connected to that brand if you ever heard their story. Michael Herklotz, you know who he is. You've heard his story, the way he loves music and all this. You're connected to his brand. That's important. It's a huge, and especially in this industry, huge part of this industry.
Hopefully calm down a little bit. But yeah, I agree with that. So let me ask you this. We're gonna get you up on out here. Well, first of all, how do people like? So there's none about me. How would I be able to get a hold of your cigar?
Yeah, so we're guidocigars.com. It'll take you to the site. You can purchase online. We got 3 packs and we got a box you can purchase if you want. So just very simply go to guidocigars.com. You can follow me on social media, Guido Cigars, and there's also links to purchase there. So that's the easiest way to get it. It is in a few shops throughout the country. There's one in North Carolina. Like I mentioned, Cutter's in Atlanta. We got a few more coming up. So if you check the website too and my social media, I'll be announcing more places where you can buy the cigars as well. But online is the best option right now. Right on the Dreamer Cigar website, like I mentioned, I partnered with Adam on that. Amazing company, amazing guy, and that's where you can pick up the cigars.
Because I know we're doing a Purple Toba raffle, so I'm definitely gonna, when y'all listening, I'm gonna get a 5-pack of Guido cigars. We're gonna throw that in for the raffle prize.
I love that.
For me too. So so that's nothing we like to give back as much as we possibly can. We think that it's going to cut down on all the debauchery that we do during the rest of the year.
Amen. Amen.
a little bit of good karma out there.
I like that.
So let me ask you this before you get out, man. How do you see the cigar industry, like the trajectory of the cigar industry within the next, let's say, 5 years? Where do you see the cigar industry going?
I think, and I mentioned PCAs and events, and I've had the option to continue to get to know them and work with them. I think what PCA is doing as far as legislation goes and ensuring that cigars stay premium and don't get roped in with all the other, I say boys vape, men smoke cigars, right? And I think as long as we don't get caught up in that hype of what's happening with other tobacco products right now, we continue to grow. I hope in 5 years we continue to grow in our own lane, if you will, and start to become a classification where we're not grouped with lesser tobacco products, if you will. Then the industry, I think, will really start to expand, and it'll have a presence as something of, I think, quality. The quality will stay there, and the respect will stay there in a society where everything else is becoming fake. I think where I kid around like. Listen, I'm a big guy, right? Like I'm not necessarily eating the healthiest here, but I'm not eating whole foods. But on the same hand, I like good, real food. And I think cigars, I was having a discussion with somebody, it's the most farm to table thing you can get, I'm not shopping at Whole Foods for my meal, but I think cigars are going to continue to stay an escape. And listen, we all know it's not the most healthy thing in the world, but I think in 5 years, it will be probably one of the most enjoyable, cleanest, non-chemically treated products you can enjoy and relax with on the market. And I know that's a little more of a political answer, if you will, but I think as the world's changing and we're getting more processed and more fake, it's probably one of the most realist products you could purchase and enjoy and put in your body, in my opinion, on the market. And that's where I see it in 5 years.
We'd all agree with that. I do see it an upward trajectory, especially with more women getting involved.
100%.
Shout out to the women, the sisters of the league, who actually know a lot more than a lot of us guys. I'm not gonna lie.
Yes. And like Lenore and Nova Cigars. I mean, like she's just doing amazing stuff, The Sisters of Leaf, an amazing organization, run by 2 amazing people. I mean, it's and I love that idea of the female smoke. Each one of my kids, when they were born, I bought a box of cigars, and I have them all saved in there. In my humidor in my office, and I don't know how good they're going to be when they each turn 18. I say I'm going to enjoy it with them, and everyone's like, even your daughter. I said I can't wait for my daughter more than anybody. Like that's the one I'm looking forward to the most. So yeah, shout out to the female smokers who are more manly than some of the guys I see out there when I go to a football game and they're sneaking there vaping.
All right, well, thank you for coming on the show, man. Tell the people how they can get in touch with you, how to get a hold of you.
Yeah, 100%. I'm available on all social media. My personal social media is just Mike Ficara. If you put Mike Ficara into Instagram, LinkedIn, you'll see me there. You can connect with me. The Instagram and LinkedIn are probably the best ways to connect with Guido Cigars. Same thing. Just Guido Cigars on Instagram, guidocigars.com. Shoot me a DM, send me a message. I'd love to talk cigars or whatever. If you're ever in South Florida, I'm always open to go grab a cigar at a local cigar lounge. And or if you ever see me in your city, invite me out for a cigar. I'd love that.
Definitely. Where you located at again?
I'm in like Pembroke Pines, which is like in between Fort Lauderdale and Miami. So like kind of in the suburb area there. Yeah.
All right. Hey, y'all down there, make sure y'all get in contact with that man.
Yeah, hit me up.
As always, I'm your local hero, reminding you to blow your smoke like a goddamn gentleman and a gentlewoman. We out, y'all.
What's up, everybody? It's your local hero. Thank you for watching the video. I want you to like, share, subscribe. Catch us on YouTube, right here on YouTube. Make sure you catch us on YouTube. I want you to catch us on Facebook, Cigar Loungin Podcast, Rumble, Cigar Loungin Podcast, Spotify, Cigar Loungin Podcast, Anchor FM, Cigar Loungin Podcast, TikTok, Cigar Loungin Podcast. I want you to catch us on IG. You can catch us under the Gentleman or Cigar Loungin Podcast. Either one of those works. So go ahead. Thank you guys for liking the video. I hope you liked the video. And follow us on all our social media sites. We everywhere you get your shit from.